This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with Mr. Red of Red Bottom Productions. I'd like to invite you to check out one of our projects that we're very proud of, thewaronporn.com. You'll find articles on age verification laws and more on the industry's plight in the war on porn and the numerous attacks on us. Go to thewaronporn.com and check it out. Adult Site Broker has launched a new website at adultsitebroker.com. The attractive new site is easier to navigate and now includes this podcast inside of it. Check it out at adultsitebroker.com. Finally, just a reminder, we're always looking for buyers and sellers of adult sites. Perhaps you've been thinking about either selling your site or buying one. Always feel free to contact me at adultsitebroker.com with any questions you may have. Now time for our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer a successful and growing OnlyFans agency. They're currently generating over $500,000 in annual profit with only 2 creators. Just imagine how much you could make by adding to their creator roster. They manage the creator's OnlyFans account, providing chat and posting services. They handle the creator's marketing, posting on Instagram Reels, Reddit, and X, as well as running paid promotions on popular social media platforms, including Instagram and Meta ads. The current owner invests little time in the business. The company already has a large internal traffic network that can be utilized from day one. If a new owner came in and invested time and money into growing the business, they'd have the opportunity to increase business by a good margin more. There's also a large amount of documentation and how-to guides for the new owner. This is an already successful agency that's ready for more growth. Only $1.25 million. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Mr. Red from Red Bottom Productions. Mr. Red, thanks for being with us on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. After retiring at the ripe old age of 33, Mr. Red went on a mission. His goal was to offer fans a one-stop shop of variety and quality. With such powerful new starlets like Taylor Vixen, Stephanie Love, and Kona Jade leading the pack, 2025 promises to be a sophomore year that no fan will ever forget. Red Bottom Productions refers to some of the classiest, trendiest attire on the planet. Porn produced with the same quality, uniqueness as any store on Rodeo Drive. But Red Bottom is so much more with BBW, BBC, trans, gay, and straight. There's no limit to what you'll find and can be created under the Red Bottom Productions umbrella. From Adult Empire to LoyalFans and OnlyFans, this production company is leading the way into the future of adult films. They have a standalone website, redbottomxxx.com, and their goal is to provide fans with everything they want. Their other production banners include Red's BBW Hotties, Red's Hot Gay Men, Red's XXX Trans, and Red's Fetish Emporium. I got through that. My goodness. Okay, after a couple of takes, Mr. Red, tell us about Red Bottom Productions and your goal creating this production company.
Well, I mean, like you said, the key was to do everything, to be everywhere. We touched on all sorts of genres, which I was told that, couldn't be done, shouldn't be done.
Normally.
You have to do a focus. Yeah, and the best way to say it is, Baskin Robbins has their 31 flavors, and I want to do every flavor. So, I didn't want to leave nobody out. That's not what I'm about. We support everybody. We support all genres and stuff. So I want to have all genres and film every genre. And that's what my goals were. And like you said, when you retire at such a young age, What they don't tell you is that you're going to get bored after so long.
I bet. I wish I could say I understand, but anyway, go ahead.
I remember making fun of my parents for being bored when both of them, when their first years of retirement. I was like, oh, you guys are crazy. But boy, I tell you, I was like, man, and when you're younger, you can't go to the places that the older retirees go to. They've got little things, 55 and up stuff, but you can't go to those
Well, you
places.
could, but you'd look a little out of place.
Well, no, they don't even allow you because of your age. No, they don't allow you because of your age. So at that point, you can only travel so much, and you realize that it's a very weird situation because your friends that and your people ex co-workers and stuff, they all have to work, so they don't have the life you have anymore.
They can't stay out till 4.
Right. They can't travel as much. And finally I got bored, and I knew some people that were in the industry, and I helped a couple people film as a male talent. And I was like, man, this is something I should do. Like, this will be something I do. And they kind of laughed at me and were like, you do know who you are, right? And what you have access to in life, right? I was like, they're like, you could start your own company. And I was like, wait, anybody can just start a company? I didn't know that. I was like, oh, they're like, you should start your own company. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely more used to being the boss than being the person taking orders. So yeah, that sounds way better to me.
Yeah. I mean, talk about the quality aspect.
I'm very picky about what I do. It's funny because even now when I look back on stuff that I did, when I first started, because I didn't, you don't know what you don't know. And now it makes me cringe. And I'm like, ooh, why did y'all let me do that? And
it's like how my podcast sounded at the beginning, man. The sound quality compared to now, it's crazy.
Right. And, people are like, you were just starting. You didn't know anything. It's okay. I was like, no, it's not okay. Why did you people let me do that?
Yeah, you learn by making mistakes, I think, in anything.
Right. And you meet people and they give you advice and they teach you, even more and more, and it grows. But I've always been about, that's why I came up with the name I came up with, because everyone knows what red bottoms stand for. They may not know what kind of brand has red bottoms, but they've heard it in songs and they know it's supposed to mean class and, sophistication.
We're probably listening to different songs, but I don't doubt that. So anyway.
Well, I should say this. In the hip hop culture, they know in songs, they talk about it. But then when you get to people who are not in the hip hop culture, people who I guess you can say are more the high end society, everyone knows, oh, well, red bottoms of shoes and stuff like that has, that means class. Right. Like, oh, okay, cool. So that's where I came with it. I was like, I want people to hear a name and go, okay, when I hear that name, I should expect classiness, sophistication.
There you go. How the hell did you retire at 33? I got to hear that story.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say I walked into it. You meet a lot of people in business and in life. I've been in a lot of different businesses as a hospitality. I was in the hospitality, which was in conjunction with the club business in Miami. And I met some very influential business people who I then became a bodyguard and had a security, a limo company and a bodyguard company all in one for executive protection. So not what we call bullet catchers, actual executive protection. So through meeting those people, I had them teach me. I was quick with it. I said, listen, I won't name the person, but he's a billionaire. And I said, listen, we've got 45 minutes until we get to the hotel. So I need business 101. And he proceeded to talk. Him and the other person I knew in protecting, they proceeded to tell me.
Let me guess, Mark Cuban.
It's funny. I have met Mark, but it wasn't Mark. It was somebody, but you go down that line of somebody he's good friends with. Yes. That was a very good guess, by the way. But yeah, so they taught me a bunch of stuff and told me stuff that I used and I took because they're very on point of, listen, if you have less than 5 sources of income, you're failing. And that was the most humbling thing I'd ever heard. And I was like, well, they were like, well, how did you end up in South Florida? And it was after we had the recession, because I lost my job working for a company here. And that's how I ended up in South Florida, because a friend called me and said, hey, you still not working? I was like, that's cute. I was like, no. And I was like, I'm not going to work in no fast food place or anything. So I said, hey, no, I'm not, they're like, well, be in Miami in a week. I was like, oh, okay. They're like, we got a job for you. Come work at a hotel / nightclub as in a management position.
What was it, at South Beach?
Miami Beach, not South Beach.
Okay.
So I went, and I never knew that would change my life, because most people are like, oh, well, working during a club and that won't change. I said, you're right. That won't change your life, but the people you meet could change your life.
Exactly. Sure. And in management, you're gonna talk to the high rollers in their private booths and things like that. So
right, and I got to know a lot of them. And you could see me and catch me sitting courtside at Miami Heat games because of it, and eating, I guess you say, rubbing elbows with the right people, which put me in positions to learn and to have access to stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure courtside at the Heat games aren't too expensive.
It's funny. I don't know. I've never had to pay for them.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's the way to do it, no doubt. So what's it like being a new production company with so much competition?
It's different. And this is July. So we are pretty much on 2 years. And it's different, but it's even better when you realize, when people who've been around a lot longer than you tell you, and you look at them as, they're up there, and they tell you, oh, you've passed us. They're like, you have passed us very quickly. And I was like, oh, that's kind of humbling.
That's a nice compliment.
But like you said, it's one of those things where it's not easy.
Nothing worthwhile is.
It's definitely not easy, but you learn to navigate situations. And I guess you can say it's who you know. Because from the get-go, I was put in contact with the right people. And that allowed me to connect and parlay that into knowing more people and more people. So I just took that and spread it in. When you do the right thing and you treat people the correct way, it makes it easy.
Absolutely. I buy off on that philosophy. That's my philosophy too. They say that every filmmaker has a dream to make that one true film, something that defines who they are. What's the dream film that you want to make? Who does it star? And how many niches and white lines will it cross? People say that. And, it's funny because I feel very blessed to say that so far I've accomplished a lot of that. I can't say there's one that's still escaping me. Okay. Give me one you're particularly proud of then.
It actually comes out next month.
Oh, tell me about it, since it will already be out by the time this runs.
Yes, it will come August 1st. It's called Shadows of Trust. I'm actually in it, in a role playing myself, Mr. Red, as, a boss. I have 6 stars in it, including one of my contract male talent, Dante Diggs. I have Zoe Fox. I have Cali Caliente. I have Slim Poke. I have some newer people. I have Bunny Love, and I have Kevin. But it's a full movie. It's a full out movie, and there will be spinoffs from it, I should say. And to have a full movie, full script, filmed, and to be able to spin off of it, and you'll get to see a whole kind of different dynamics. And like I said, my goal was to make a full out movie. We use there's drone footage, and to be able to do stuff that can spin off into other stuff later was my goal. It's probably my biggest, I guess you can say, as a smaller company, or as they call us, a pro-am company, to do something like the major studios do.
Mm-hmm. Where do you do most of your shooting? Miami?
It's kind of even right now between the West Coast and East Coast. Well, Miami, Orlando, and LA.
Oh, that West Coast. Okay.
Yes, West Coast. Because this film was actually filmed in LA.
Oh, okay.
And, I go to LA a couple times a year. I have a director, Rex Oliver, in LA, who films for me, so I don't have to be on set. I just make it so that I will, most of the time, when I can, I will FaceTime with the talents to tell them thank you and appreciate them for filming. But he handles my West Coast films, so I don't always have to fly out there.
Okay, so that kind of alleviates the challenges of living on the East Coast?
Yes, which it would be the same if I lived in LA, because I have a director in Miami too. If I don't want to go drive, it's 4 hours. It's not far, but
I remember.
sometimes, you just don't want to travel. And I traveled a lot when I first began. And I'm like, you know what? I've gotten to the point where I don't have to always be there. My team knows what I expect. And once I tell them stuff and, once you've shown them and they understand, okay, these are the expectations that the boss has. This is what the quality he expects. This is how we have to act. Then I don't have to be there because I have, expectations and they know my expectations. So I never have to worry about, okay, how is someone acting?
Why should fans pay their hard-earned money to purchase a membership to your site?
It's one of the few where whatever your desires is and your interests are, you can have multiple and still come to one location. Because whether it's trans, gay, fetish, BBW, whatever, some of us have a lot of different things that we like. It just depends on the day or the night. It changes. You can still get that. You're still gonna, if I go to Red Bottom, XXX, or any of the other websites and I have a variety to pick from. And like you said, I've got, from amateurs to superstars. We got Playboy cover models and Stephanie Love. We got people who are filming their first scenes ever.
Yeah, that is something that you have that other sites don't have, because I think everyone is very niche driven.
Correct. And I didn't want that.
Do you have plans to launch more websites?
As we speak right now, they're in production, but when this comes out, they should be done. Hopefully we're getting the final approval from the billing companies, but I have 5 to 6 sites being built right now up for approvals. So it's one of those things like, I have a couple, but due to laws changing, that we're dealing with right now in the industry, we've had to make adjustments. So as things happen, things change. I'm adapting and moving forward with it.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. Congratulations on the new sites. I should give the disclaimer. We're taping this. I was going to say filming. We're taping this in July, and it will come out at the end of September. So last year, you were nominated for Best New Production Studio at the AVN Awards. Congratulations. Tell us what that means to you being new in the industry.
Oh, it meant the world. I won't even sugarcoat that. I can't even kind of sugarcoat that. I mean, to have your first year for the organization that most people in our industry look at and regard as the top awards, to try to get to be nominated. Yes, of course, there's disappointment when you don't win, but just to be on the list, to be considered one of the best new companies in the world. I think it was 10 of us, nominated. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was 10, something like that. But still, to be in the top 10 in the world of the best new, when there's probably hundreds of companies that start a year in the year. So, it's one of those things. Because at that point, you realize you're seen, that people see me and they see what I'm doing. They see the work that my team is doing and that the quality is there. Because you don't get nominated for that if you don't have good quality and you don't have good stuff you're putting out.
That's true. It's very true. I understand about being nominated and not winning. I've had that happen a couple times. Tell us about your first year with Red Bottom Productions. Was there respect among agents, performers, and fans? And how has it changed now in year 2?
No, I'm not going to lie. It had ups and downs. It's funny now when I look at it because, there was agents who didn't want their talents to work with me when I first started. I wasn't there. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know. And now their talents have worked with me multiple times. They message me. Some of them I directly talk to. Some I have my directors talk to. But I do talent. It's funny because you remember the time when you had to really struggle to find people. And now I think I get probably, if not every day, every other day, I get a message from people wanting to work with me.
That's really cool. I mean, what does that mean to you?
It's weird because now that I've gotten also 2 Urban X nominations as a Best New Studio and Best New Pro-Am and a Best Pro-Am Studio, it's kind of weird because it's like, wow, I'm here. And well, I guess you say the hard work that's been done by my publicist, Don Juan DeMarco, and my team and our marketing and stuff is working. Because when people from around the world are saying they see, leaving messages and fans and different saying, oh, we see you. I've heard you. I just attended an event in New York and people were coming up to me saying, you're everywhere. And they're like, you're everywhere. We hear you everywhere. Like, you're doing it. And the fun, crazy part is when people say, we didn't even know what you look like.
Ah, the mystery.
But that's a good thing for me because I'm like, they know the brand. They don't know my face, but all they know is they know the brand, which is perfect.
You should probably come up with some AI Mr. Red where the guy, has red skin or something crazy like that.
At some point there's going to be a animated version.
Oh, I love it. I've got one of those with me on my site. Yeah, those are great.
And most people, it's funny because most people only know it's me. I had somebody tell me they know it's me because they smell my cologne. But other than that, they said it's because I have a big chain that I wear with my logo on it. And, that is my thing because it actually is a conversation piece. Because when I'm in the airport, I've had flight attendants who looked and they just kind of point and they're like, wait a minute. And, they get that look. But it starts conversations.
Well, if they're hot enough, you can put them to work, right?
It's female and male, though. It's male, too. And it's ironic because the first one to notice it wasn't who you thought it would be. The first one to recognize it on a plane was actually a gay male. He was the first one that ever recognized me on a plane, or recognized my logo on a plane.
It makes sense since you're shooting gay content.
No, I know, but I'm saying to actually acknowledge it, I was like, oh, I'm really reaching now. I felt accomplished. I was like, yeah.
If he's hot, you could have him shoot for you. Shit. Anyway, tell us about your very first contract star, Dante Diggs. Why him and how is he special?
That is the Energizer Bunny. We talk every day. It would be weird if we didn't. If he didn't call me or message me every day. But his work ethic is way beyond most people. He's always thinking about work. He's very intellectual about the business. And it came down to just a lot of conversations I didn't plan on it. And neither did he. He didn't want to film for studios. He wanted to be a content creator. That's what he does. He's very big on being a content creator and doing his own thing. He wanted no parts of it. But we both, after so many talks and just being around each other, and I told him, I said, I just need you to see the vision. And he said, I see the vision. He said, I'm with you. He said, wherever you go, I go. Let's do this. So we made it official and we've been tearing it up.
What kind of content is he doing?
He does straight.
Okay. Very good.
We've done, it's been maybe 2 months since we made it official. In July, it's been 2 months and we've probably already done 12 to 15 scenes.
Jeez, you're busy.
Oh yeah. It's the summer, so I'm trying to slow down, but it never seems to happen. Even though I told him, I said, we're slowing down. I said, we got to take a break, y'all. We got to slow down some. But, my staff doesn't like to listen to me.
There you go. That's a good way not to listen. Do you have plans to sign any female or trans talent as your next contract star? Who are your top 5 candidates on your wish list for that, and why?
Honestly, there's only one that I have. Her name is Pixie LaRue. And it's funny because most people think she is signed to me because we filmed so many big scenes together and she's done so well. But other than that, I'm not trying to be one of those companies that sign. Like I said, with Dante, it just worked. It was perfect. Pixie's we have a special relationship. Work relationship has been great. We've done a lot of great stuff together. I've done a lot of her first. By the time when this comes out, we've already done another first for her, which is a large group scene for her. So she trusts me a lot and I trust her. All right. Other than that, it just has to make sense. So I don't have a lot of people are like, oh, I would do this or I would have this person. But at the end of the day, I don't want to have any stars that feel like they're trapped and they can't work with other people. Like Dante came to me and was like, I don't want to work with other companies unless you tell me. He's worked with a lot of other companies. He's like, and I've told him, I was like, you can go work with that company, But other than that, I don't want to box them in. I want them to experience other places and be with other directors. And I want them to get as much as you can, much as experience, as much as exposure as you can. Like at the end of the day, there's enough for all of us out here. And I'm one of those people where they say, if I eat, I want everybody at my table to eat.
That's good philosophy. Do you have any plans to make the move to LA or Vegas? Is the Florida production scene as vibrant as the other two I just mentioned? I know a few people who would say no, but I want to hear it from an actual studio owner like you who's there.
I do not want to leave. And I don't have to. Because, yes, where I'm at per se is not, but South Florida, Miami is. So most talented people in the business, they like coming to Miami or they go to Miami.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's a nice place to go.
Right. So I don't have to. And for the people who can't come, I have, my director and my people out west. And when I go out there, but no, there's no reason to move because at the end of the day, there's just as much quality talent on the east side of the country as there is on the west side of the country.
Yeah. And why live in LA? Sorry if I offended anybody, but I'm not a fan.
And most people go back and forth anyway.
Yeah. This is true.
So it's, there's quite a few of us, on the East Coast and other places. So there's no reason to.
Okay. Why do you think there's been so much hesitation from production companies to combine gay, trans, and BBW content in one location like you've done with Red Bottom?
Oh, they're going to be at the gates with pitchforks on this one. When I answer this question, it's because of the I guess you can call them the old guard. There's still some people in the industry left over from the old days who remember the good old days, as they call them, which I don't know why it's considered the good old days. I mean, it's the same people who think that there shouldn't be tattoos on talents, shouldn't have tattoos. They want to hold on to, well, back in the day, we didn't. Well, this ain't back in the day. Everything else changed. Why shouldn't this change? And that's why. And so they tell people and they try to ingrain into the new people, like, no, this is what it's supposed to be. Like, it's not supposed to be that way. That's not what we did. That's not how we do things. Yeah, but things change. If you don't change, you evolve. We're evolving. I've evolved. I'm trying to show the world, listen, here we go.
Hey, I'll tell you something. Having people come into our industry for mainstream like you did, I think is what's kept this industry alive. I came from mainstream and I've been in the industry close to 25 years. And it's new ideas that keep this industry energized, in my opinion.
I appreciate that. That's, I guess you can say, a start to, change things. But when I heard and when people were saying, oh, and there was some people who, got word to me throughout the industry that, hey, this is not okay. He can't do this. Like he can't do this. This is not okay. And I will say there was some agents who didn't want to let their talents work for me because of it. But needless to say, all of those people have changed their minds since then.
Yes. AVN nominations will certainly help, as well as success. That's what it comes down to, is winning.
Boy, doesn't it?
Tell us about the biggest 2025 film that you have in the market right now.
That I have right now, I mean, Shadows of Trust is big. And I actually have another big scene called The Royal Secession, Anal Royalty, the Royal Secession, that stars Rebel Ryder and Pixie LaRue, Sheen the Dream, That J Guy, and Dante Diggs. And Rebel Ryder is world renowned for her, I guess you can say, skills and ability to put things in her behind, and her passing the torch to the little Anna Princess and Pixie LaRue, who is on her way to being, to working to learn and be just like Rebel. And I was like, well, why don't we take real life and put it on camera, and having them, and doing, it was Pixie LaRue's first fisting and her double penetration all in the same scene. And it was transcending. Like when I, saw it, I was like, wow, it was 58 minutes of just intensity. And it was big, I'm very proud of it and very proud of how they did it, and happy to say everyone who's seen it, including all the talents, they were like, yeah, that was it right there.
It sounds to me like you were a fan of the industry before you got into it, but at the same time, you had ideas on how you do it differently. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, I was a fan, plus I knew people, and through my past life, I dated a couple of people that were in the industry at different times, but I did, you don't know what you don't know. And I knew who I was as a person, and I just took that and was like, I'm not changing who I am as a person and how I believe as a person. So how I think as a person is everyone should be included. Everyone should have the same access to the same thing, and everyone should be boxed in. If you're good at what you do what you do.
Yeah, I think more people should have open minds. There are certainly the old guard, as you said. There are people with closed minds and don't believe that one niche should be on the same website as another niche, but you seem to be breaking the mold a little bit. So maybe this will turn their heads. We can only hope. Where do you see Red Bottom Productions in 5 years?
No longer having that word "am" after my name. When they say what kind of studio I am, it will no longer be considered pro-am. It will just be pro, and they will call my studio mainstream. To go from not existing to that, I feel like would be reaching the true mountaintop. That's where I want to get to.
Okay. What's your prediction for the adult film world in the future? Is AI going to take over? Will animated porn be what takes over the hearts and minds of consumers? What do you see happening?
I don't think there's ever such a thing as a takeover. Will it grow and become a part? Yes, but not take over. At the end of the day, like we said about evolving, things are going to evolve, things are going to come, and new things are going to, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be the people who will say, hey, this is what I like. This is the natural stuff, real people, stuff like that. Like, it's not going to change. And we're going to adapt, whatever the political climate is, the laws that change, around the world, not just, one country. We're going to always adapt, and we're going to keep going. It may sometimes cause us a little irritation, but we will adapt and we will survive, and we will keep thriving. Because at the end of the day, like I tell people all the time, they're like, when people ask me, what do I do for a living? I say, I put people to sleep happy at night.
I like that answer. Here they call it a happy ending, but Anyway, Mr. Rad, I'd like to thank you for being our guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do this again soon.
I look forward to it. I appreciate you having me. Everything you've done in the industry. I appreciate you letting me be on the platform, and can continue to be positive. No matter what, we're going to survive. And people, please don't give up and keep buying.
Keep buying and keep fighting and keep voting.
Exactly. Voting matters.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My broker tip today is part 7 of what to do to make your site more valuable for when you decide to sell it later. Last week, we talked about trademarking your site and ways to make it unique. Next, when you decide to sell your website, make sure you have the following information available for potential buyers: Detailed information about your company, your website, and any other aspect of your operation the potential buyers may want to find out about. This should include, for a pay site, a detailed inventory of your content, number of images and number of videos, how much of those are exclusive and how much are non-exclusive, financial information for at least the last 3 years if your company is that old. This should include sales reports, profit and loss statements, and billing reports. Get all the information organized in a legible format that a good broker can use to sell your property. If you decide to sell it yourself, organize a list of potential buyers and start the process of contacting them. Be realistic about what your company is worth. In today's market, the kiss of death is overpricing your property. Is there anything that a potential buyer needs to know, such as, are you being sued? Do you have any substantial debts? Don't let these things be a surprise to the potential buyer. They'll either find out before the sale and not buy, or they're going to find out after the sale and you'll have another lawsuit on your hands. Disclose everything. We'll talk about this subject more next week. And next week, we'll be speaking with Roger T. Pipe of Rod Reviews. And that's it for this week's Adult Side Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Mr. Red of Red Bottom Productions. Talk to you again next week on Adult Side Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.